Good morning, grade sixes, and welcome to your daily mathematics lesson brought to you by WorksheetCloud. Before we get started, please take note of the email address, grade6@worksheetcloud.com. You can send any questions or related queries to that address. I'll receive them and then I can answer them during the next lesson. Okay, today we're going to be looking at fractions. So our schedule for today is to warm up the brain, then some mental arithmetic. We're going to do a quick fraction recap from previous lessons. And then today's main theme is adding and subtracting fractions. So a really important part of the maths curriculum. And high school teachers quite often comment on the ability of grade 8s, 9s, and 10s to do fractions. So I encourage you to make sure you understand the principles behind adding and subtracting fractions, as it will just be more beneficial to you. And then at the end, we have our normal finisher. Okay, guys, so your warm-up for the day is as follows. Okay, so there's footballs, surfboards, and golf clubs. And you are required to use your math skills to find the value of each symbol and the question mark. Feel free to press pause at any time if I carry on showing you the answers and you haven't quite finished. Once you've finished, then just press play to carry on. Okay, so there's your warm-up activity for the day. So 108 divided by 3 could have been your first port of call. You could have also said 108 divided by 6 and then just doubled that for 2 footballs. Either way, you would have got 36 for a pair of footballs. So 36 plus 36 plus 36 will give you your 108. Okay, then below that, we got to add 36. So what plus 36 is going to give me 436, and that's 400. So 2 surfboards multiplied by 2 surfboards needs to give you 400. So that would be 20 multiplied by 20 gives you 400. And then add the 36. Okay. Then below that, you need to get to 451. So you can do this via trial and error. Sorry, not 20. It's going to be 22. My apologies. So 22 multiplied by 20. And then we're going to add 11. Okay, and that's going to give you 451, because 22 times 20 is 440. Okay, and then you'll get that 451. And now I know the values of all the symbols. So I know that the 2 surfboards are 20. I know that the golf clubs are 11. And I know that 1 football is going to be 18. And then I know according to my order of operations, I must go 11 times 18 first. So I can go 10 times 18 is 180, plus that additional 18 is 198. And then I just need to add the 20 from the surfboards, and my total answer is 218. Okay, great. Our next part of the lesson for today is our mental maths. Okay. And there are your mental maths questions in front of you. I'll give you a couple of moments. Remember to have a pen and paper ready. Always good to jot things down. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say that by now, but it's a really important part of maths to write down your thoughts, just to make a little bit more sense of it. Okay, remember to press pause should you need to. And then you work them out by yourself, and then listen to how I've worked them out afterwards. So 57 times 6, so there's so many different ways that you can do this. You can do the standard column method, you can do the split method, you can do the compensation method, you can do the doubling and halving method. Okay, so the split method, I would say 50 multiplied by 6 is 300. And then the 7 multiplied by 6 is 42. Okay, and then I just need to add 300 and the 42, and that gives me 342. Okay, so that's just one of the methods that you could have used to work that question out. I will show you the doubling and halving method, which is taught in grade 5. Okay, and the doubling and halving method is 57 multiplied by 6. So I will double the odd number, which is 57, and that gives me 114, and I'd multiply that by 3. Okay, so I double the 57 to 114 and halve the 6 to 3, and both of those questions will actually give me the same answer. I can now say 100 times 3 is 300, 14 times 3 is 42, put them together, and you get the same answer of 342. Okay, so those are just two methods that you can use to work things out mentally. And I encourage you to explore as many of those methods as possible to see which one suits you. Write a quarter of 1 million as a numeral, and a quarter of 1 million as a numeral is 250,000. Okay, remember to leave that little gap between the 250 and then the 3 zeros for the 1,000. Not too big, so people don't think it's the same number, but there should be a little gap there just to distinguish between all those zeros. Okay, then we needed to round off 12,612. Okay, 12,612 to the nearest 10 is 12,610. To the nearest 100 would be 12,600. And to the nearest 1,000 would be 13,000. Okay, so just again, a little bit of a revision and a little bit of a recap of past principles for you. Okay, then what is the perimeter of a square with 7 centimeter sides? So we should know that a square, all 4 sides are equal. So you can either say 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, okay, and that's going to give you 28 centimeters, or you could say 7 times 4, which also gives you 28 centimeters. Okay, and then the last question was how many millimeters are in 1 meter? So normally you'd be asked how many centimeters are in 1 meter, which we know is 100. Okay, so there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, but now I want to go to millimeters. So I know there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter, so I need to multiply the centimeters by 10. Okay, that will give me 1,000 millimeters, and that's how many millimeters I have in a meter. Okay. Okay, fractions. So I just want to recap a couple things we've spoken about in the previous days. So the first thing I need you to do is give me a fraction equivalent to 6/7. Yes, that's quite correct. If you had given me 12/14, that would be perfect. Okay, so the key there is whatever you do to the numerator, you must do to the denominator. Or it can go the other way around, where whatever you do to the denominator, which remember is the bottom number, you must do to the numerator. So if I'd multiplied the numerator 6 by 2 to get 12, I must do the same to the 7, and 7 multiplied by 2 to get 12. You could have had 6 times 3 is 18, over 7 times 3, which is 21. That would have still been equivalent. Right, next one, just to recap, how do I simplify 15/27? And yes, if you had said you need to find a factor that divides into both 15 and 27. So ideally the highest common factor, so the highest number that divides into both numbers, then yes, you would have been on the right path. So what goes into 15 and 27? So they're both multiples of 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 27 9 times. So your answer there is going to be 5 over 9. Okay? And then lastly, I would like you to convert 25 over 7, which is an improper fraction. I'd like you to convert that to a mixed number. Yes, if you had said 7 goes into 25 3 times, and then what was left over would be 4 over 7, then you are quite correct. So we're looking for 3 and 4 over 7. Okay, so remember that 25 over 7 as a fraction means 25 divided by 7. Okay, 7 goes into 25 3 times, okay, to give you 21, and there's 4 left over to get to 25. So it's 3 whole numbers and 4 over 7. Please go back to the previous lessons on fractions, and all the explanations and descriptions and worked out examples are there for you. These last 3 examples have purely been a little bit of a recap from previous lessons. And then the last example is to go the other way and to convert a mixed numeral or mixed number into an improper fraction. Okay, and remember that you say the 6 whole numbers times the denominator, which is 6 times 5 is 30, and then add the 3, and that's 33 over 5. Again, worked examples and deeper explanations on previous lessons. Okay, so today's main part of the lesson is adding and subtracting fractions. So we will first look at adding fractions. So here I've got 1/4 and 2/4. So you can see the 2 squares have been divided up into 4 blocks. Okay, so it's been divided up into quarters. The first square has got 1 of the 4 quarters shaded in, so 1 over 4. And the second square has 2 of the 4 quarters shaded, so 2 over 4. So when I want to add fractions with the same denominator, I just add the numerators, 1 plus 2 together, and I get an answer of 3 over 4. Okay, why can I not say 1/4 plus 2/4 is equal to 3 over 8? And yes, you're quite correct. If you had said 1/4 plus 2/4 is not 3 over 8, so what they've done in this example here is they've added the numerators. 1 plus 2 is 3, which is fine. But in addition, in addition of fractions, we do not add the denominators. Okay, we simply keep them the same. So for this example, when you add fractions, the denominators must be the same. How are we going to get those 2 denominators the same? So there we've got 2/3 plus 1 over 6. I cannot add them as they are. I need to make their denominators exactly the same. Okay, so from here, I would need to think about multiples of 3 and 6. And you should be thinking, well, 3 can turn into 6. So therefore, I'll have the denominators equaling 6. So for me to do that, I need to multiply the 2 by the 3. And remember, we said whatever we do to the denominator, we'll do to the numerator. Okay, that will then give me 4 over 6 plus 1 over 6. So now my denominators are the same. I can add them together, the numerators together, to give me 5 over 6. Okay, and that is adding fractions with different denominators. Okay, here's another worked example for you. So there you can see the denominators are not the same. So now I cannot turn the 3 into the 4. So I need to look for the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4. And here again, one of the lessons from the previous couple of days, we spoke about lowest common multiple and highest common factor. And this is where it ties into fractions. So I've written out the multiples of 3 and I've written out the multiples of 4. and I've highlighted in blue the lowest common multiple for 3 and 4. Now that is 12. Okay, so now I need to change my denominators of 3 and 4 into 12. So I multiply my denominator of 3 by 4, and I stick to the same principle that whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator, because I'm trying to make an equivalent fraction of 1/3. Okay, and the same with the quarter. I need to multiply the denominator and numerator by 3, so that my denominator is 12. And remember that 4 over 12 and 1/3, they are equivalent. And 3 over 12 and 1/4, they are equivalent. So we're not exactly changing the value of 1/3 and 1/4. We're just making them the same denominators so we can add them. And now all that's left for me to do is add the numerators, 4 plus 3, and I keep it over the same denominator. Okay, so 7 over 12. Guys, please at any time stop, rewind, fast forward, go back and have a look at what we've been speaking about. If you don't get it the first time, the joy of having a pre-recorded lesson is that you can do that. And remember, if you have any questions, I shared that email address with you at the beginning, which was grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Right, subtracting fractions. Okay, so subtracting fractions, the same principles as adding fractions. The only difference is that you subtract the numerators. Okay, so when the denominators are the same, we just subtract the numerators and we get 3 over 7. Okay, here the denominators are different. Okay, so just like addition, we need to change the denominators to be the same. So for me to do that, I'm going to multiply the 3 by the 4. So I must then multiply its numerator by 4. My new question is in 5 over 12 minus 4 over 12. Sorry, and that gives me the 1 over 12. Okay. Right, guys, so that's pretty much what the lesson is on today. All that's left for us to do is the brain bender or the finisher at the end. Please make sure that you have a look at your online activities that you can do at home. I've prepared some worksheet activities for you to do to go and practice addition and subtraction of fractions. So I encourage you just to consolidate the principles you've learned or revised today so that when you do get back to school, everything is ready to go. Okay, so all that's left for today is your brain bender or finisher, and that looks as follows. Remember, it's a multiplication table, so all that you are required to do is tell me the value of the symbols, the cowboy boot, the sheriff's badge, the bag of money, and the bull's skull, and the cowboy hats. Okay, there it is there. Okay, so remember to pause if you are not quite finished. There's no real point of me giving you 2-3 minutes to work it out and sitting here in silence where you can just press pause, spend 2-3 minutes trying to work it out, and then pressing play to see if you've cracked it and got it all correct. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fill in the values that are there. So we have 2, 0, 8, 10, and 0. Okay, so where am I going to start? I will start on the left-hand column at the sheriff's badge. So I'm going to start there because the sheriff's badge times 2 must give me that 8. Okay, so what times 2 is 8, and that's 4. Then I'm going to look at the bull skull, and I know that that bull skull times that 2 needs to give me this 10. Okay, so what times 2 is 10, and that's 5. Okay, then I must look at the bag of money, because I know that the bull's head times the bag of money gives you this 0, and I know anything times 0 is 0, so the bag of money is 0, which probably doesn't make sense because it looks like it's quite full. But anyway, that's equal to 0. Okay. Now you know that the cactus is also going to be equal to 0, because 4 times 0 is 0. Okay. So now we're going to do, via a little bit of trial and error perhaps, what other values we've got. So let me just fill in the sheriff's badge and the bull's horn where else we are. So now I must realize that the cowboy hat should be equal to 1, because the sheriff's badge times the cowboy hat is giving me 4 over here. And we know that the sheriff's badge is 4 already, so that must be 1. And all that's left for me to work out is the cowboy boots, and that's going to be 2, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, guys, so that is your mathematics for today. Please make sure that you understand the concepts that we've spoken about. Again, if you have any questions, then please email me at grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Please remember your online activities that you can download off worksheetcloud.com. Everything's for you in one place. Your live lessons, or sorry, not live lessons, your recorded lessons that you can go back and have a look at, the past principles that we've spoken about. And remember, each day builds on the day before. So good luck with the practice. Have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Cheers and take care.